Now I'd like to begin the panel session number 2. It's titled Creating Mainstream Brands. As you may be aware, those are the top executives from the top brands we have here today. I think for the brands, each company would have their own issues. From this side, Mr. Ikuo Maeda from Mazda, and in the center we have from I forgot I was in Japan. I forgot to wait for the applause. I'm sorry. In the center we have Mr. Laurent van der Acker from Renault. And then on the far right from the audience, we have Mr. Minami from Honda. I believe you are prepared with some presentations, so we'd like to go ahead with this. If Mr. Maeda, you could start this off.
皆さんこんにちは。
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Shiro Nakagawa from Nissan and all of the sponsors for this wonderful opportunity. It is such a rare opportunity to see all the executives from the top brands, and I was looking forward to this opportunity. I only have 10 minutes for my presentation, so I'll be brief. From the design point of view, how we are trying to deepen the value of Mazda, this is the topic I'd like to talk about today. The theme of this session is creating mainstream brands. So this is the topic that's been given to me. First of all, we are not a mainstream brand, neither do we want to be a mainstream brand. We term ourselves as being a small player. We are small, yet we shine. We're small, but we shine. That's the kind of brand we would like to become. Small but conspicuous. And we would like to take on the challenges no one else dares to. We would like to be different from others, and we're really serious about it. For example, you know the rotary engines. Once Mazda quits it, then it would just vanish. It's a technology that's going to vanish if we do not do it. We are still continuing development of that engine. And then the Sky Active technology, this is another technological innovation that we have initiated. And we'd like to bring the best car in the world with something that comes out of the unconventional. And then the cars that we produce, it is a work of art. The one you see here is something that will be shown the first thing in the morning after in the press conference. It's going to be premiered for the first time. It's going to be the first one in the morning, so it may be a little bit difficult for you to reach there by that time, but please do come to check out this new car. And a car should have a beautiful form, crafted by human hands, and a car should be an animated work of art and a machine that inspires. And this is Mazda design. The theme of the design is called the breathing soul of motion. It's soul of motion, breathing life into the car, breathing life into the car. That's the theme we have for designing the Mazda cars. For us, a car is like our own partner. It is something that has life. It's like your family or your boyfriend, your girlfriend, or your friends, somebody who is very dear to you. And of course, it does not have a life. It's just a metal box. However, I would like to give life into that. This may sound a little bit religious, but it's not meant to be that way. But to some extent, design has that kind of religious nature to it. And based on this thinking, we have a video that's been created based on the soul of motion idea.
美しいものでなければ人の心を打つことはできない。情熱を込めて作られたものでなければ感動を呼ぶことはできない。人間の手が生み出すさまざまな形をまとって我々の車たちは単なる道具であることを超える。これがマツダデザイン。Mazda。
これは
This is a commercial film for Mazda design. What we're trying to say is about our aspirations for designing, not just the shape of the car. This is the reason why we have created this kind of a video. It's something shaped by human hands. And as you know well, it's very difficult to create a new car. It's getting more and more difficult. There is a lot of issues that we need to challenge. At the same time, we have to be efficient. Against this backdrop, it's going to be created by a human being. Through that, there will be warmth given to that. And that's where we are trying to create values, the human aspect of a design. Please take a look at this shape, form. It may look as if it's alive, breathing life into something. That also means manipulating lights to express the life. This is the most delicate part of designing a car. The reflections would give a different impression about a car. And how is this going to be connected to our actual design? We would create a model like this and think about the lights or the reflections. This has a very resolute kind of taste to it. And this original model turns into this one, CXD. And until we reach this stage, there were many trials and errors. But after going through all of the trials and errors, we would reach something that we have tried to achieve through the original model. We always go back to that starting point. This is another example. This is called N. It's a lustrous, glossy shine that we wanted to express. And this has evolved into this latest roadster form. It's dynamic, it's vibrant. This is what we wanted to express here. And this is the roadster model. And if you could look at the zebra below, the shape of the car itself is very simple. However, it has been modeled very delicately. There is this light that has been controlled in this shape. And we wanted to become the one and only in this domain. This kind of a concept thinking has also been converted into a bicycle. There was a luster. It's a sexy bicycle. And you may ask, why do bicycles need to be sexy? But this is what we have done. And then there is a delicate sensitivity to create an exquisite beauty. This is a Japanese asset. This is where we have originated in. This is the aesthetic value that is unique to the Japanese, and we create forms based on this spirit. Finally, about the brand that we would like to create. First of all, it's something that faces the beauty like artists. And also to couple with that, we need the craftsman that is capable of creating that beauty. So it's like an atelier where people get together to create beauty. And it is a brand that is driven by the passion of those craftsmen in that atelier. And by accumulating all of those passions, the message becomes more clear. This is the brand message that we're trying to convey. And lastly, I would like to share with you a video that demonstrates our spirits.
はい、ありがとうございました。
前田さんありがとうございました。次は
Thank you very much, Mr. Maeda. Next is Mr. Van den Acker.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for having us. It's really great to be back in Tokyo. Thank you, Shiro, for the invite. It's really good to see some of my good friends here so far away. And thank you for having such a wonderful location. It's really the best place to be. My story is going to be slightly different because our management asked us to reinvent the design strategy of Renault. And this allows me to take you back maybe 5 years. I'm going to try to tell you 5 years of design in 10 minutes. So here we go. Because we had to start from scratch, we started with asking ourselves some fundamental questions like, what is our promise? Now, to give you a good example, here you have a good brand, BMW, with a good promise, ultimate driving machine, with good products. And this is a virtuous circle. So my first question when I came to Renault in 2009 was, what is your promise? Because if you don't know what your promise is, it's really hard for us as designers to design the products. To illustrate this point, I would like to do an experiment with you to show my point. So I'm going to show you 2 airlines, okay? And you need to tell me which one do you want to fly with. So if these are 2 airlines, who wants to fly with the airline on the right? Please raise your hands. Okay, who wants to fly with the airline on the left? Okay, so airline Kandinsky was in trouble. In principle, it had a very good safety record, but it couldn't get its message across. So it hired a very expensive advertising agency, like Publicis, and after 3 million euros and 3 months of work, they created this. So now my question to you is, are you feel more comfortable right now? Not really, eh? Because between what you read and what you see, there is a disconnect. And because we are visual people, you tend to believe what you see, because 80% of our communication is actually visual. So the visual part is much stronger than what you see, than what you read. Now, what you read is your promise, is your message, the brand strategy. What you see, the painting, is the design strategy. And on the left, you can see a coherent brand strategy and a very good design strategy for an airline. On the right side, you have a good brand strategy, but a bad design strategy. Now, when I arrived at Renault, it seemed like the company wasn't really sure what they wanted to communicate, and all the cars on the street were looking quite different. So at that moment, we are communicating confusion. The second analysis that we made is it's really important to know where the brand is in its life. I believe a brand looks for its soul, then it finds its soul. This could be Mazda Zoom Zoom, or Ultimate Driving Machine, or Vorsprung durch Technik. Then, if you find your soul, you need to stay consistent to become strong. But even when you are strong, you need to refresh once in a while, rejuvenate, to stay relevant in life. Now, when I asked people, where is Renault? People were telling me, Renault is here. We are lost. So our goal became to refine our soul and then stay coherent afterwards. This is important because if your brand is here, my design strategy is different from when my brand is here or here. So the goal for us in design became to develop a new soul and then execute it. Now, to make it very simple, there are three types of brands. Some brands are car-centric, some brands are planet-centric, some brands are human-centric. The car-centric brands, they play on performance, on technology, on, how can I say, horsepower, if you will. Many of the German brands are in this category. The planet-centric brands want to improve the world, and they have, in that sense, also a mission. And then in the center, you have brands that are human-centric, and this is where you find some of the French brands, like Renault, but you could also potentially find a brand like Volvo in this place. This also fits very well to Renault's values of voiture à vivre, cars for living. So the moment you talk about people, you're talking about life. And the question for us in design became how to connect our vehicles to these values. Now, because we are a generalist brand, we have many different types of vehicles. We have iconic vehicles, like a Twingo One or an Alpine. We have crossovers, we have family cars, we have commercial vehicles, we have sports vehicles, we have electric vehicles. And how to make sense of this is something that we did through the life cycle. Because we said, if you start with life, you start with falling in love. Those could be our iconic cars. Then, once you've found the mate, you explore the world, crossovers. Everything is going well, you start a family. You need to work, you want to play, and ultimately, you achieve wisdom. And then the circle starts again. So, by creating cars for different life stages, we always have a car for you. If you have fallen in love, we have a car for you. If you started a family, we have a car for you if you want to play, etc. Then we developed a series of concept cars to illustrate these. So falling in love is a car for 2 people, because falling in love you don't do with 3 people. It's a red car. It's a passionate car. It's a car that gives you goosebumps. It's essentially a Brigitte Bardot on 4 wheels. It's a supermodel on 4 wheels. Then you explore the world. For that, you need a car for 2 people plus luggage. And this was Capture, a car that really was designed to go out and about in the world. Things are going well. You start a family. We developed a sexy minivan, if that exists, to show that the parents are still in love with each other and they haven't become simply the drivers of the children. And to show this, we even made in the interior the seats that embrace each other to show that the parents are still a couple as well as parents. Then work, a commercial vehicle, a vehicle that is asymmetrical, that combines work life through the week and family life in the weekend. Play, a car that was looking forward to the next generation of Twingo. And finally, Wisdom, the Renault Initiale Paris, which was looking forward to the next Espace in car that is 250 kilo lighter, more aerodynamic, more advanced, etc. A modern family vehicle for a modern world. These cars essentially created and illustrated the life cycle, but we also needed something to give them a face. And this is where the identity started to play a strong role. By using the logo and making it an iconic feature of the front end, we managed to create an identity that is not just a copy and paste grille that we put on every single car, but something that is more luxurious for a Espace, more simple for a Twingo, more sporty for whenever we do a real sports car. You also notice that we try to introduce a lot of color, because I think as designers we need to make life more beautiful, we need to make life more colorful, and thankfully we were able to put a lot of color that we had in our concept cars than in production. Now the first market results, just to give you an idea, the Clio and the Capture, we managed to launch them in connection with the concept cars, so there was a real bridge between the concepts and the cars. The advertising agencies played along. We launched the Clio around the theme of falling in love. You never forget your first time. We developed the new show stand with the same color circle as you had seen in the life cycle, and it gave us a stand that was very warm, very playful, very joyful, and as you can see, it attracted quite a lot of attention. We followed up with Capture that we launched in 2013, and both cars are very close to the concepts that we mentioned. This quote is an important quote that I use quite a lot to show the goal of design. It's a quote from Raymond Louis, famous designer, among other things, of the Coca-Cola bottle. The most beautiful line is the line of a rising sales chart. And it puts into perspective that we need to have 1 foot in creativity and 1 foot in business. Thankfully, since the arrival of Clio and Capture, our sales in this particular segment have gone up. We have reconquered the #1 position in the B segment in Europe. We are profitable, something that is not very easy to do with small cars. And the new cars are pulling up the image of our brand. And a second interesting indicator is also the reasons of purchase of a Renault. In 2012, design was the 3rd reason of purchase after loyalty and after price. In 2013, design became the 2nd reason for purchase, and in 2014, design has become the 1st reason of purchase. And as you know, and I think Gordon and Adrian have explained, we need to have an emotional connection first in order to get people, to seduce them to invest more and spend more on our cars. At the moment, we are renewing the complete range, so we are in the process of rolling out the new cars, starting with the new Twingo that we will launch here tomorrow in Japan. The new Espace has been launched, as well as the Kadjar in Europe, which will also go to many different markets. The new Talisman, successor of the D segment, here launched in Frankfurt, as well in a sedan, as well as in a station wagon version. And finally, the new Megane, which was launched 2 weeks, it seems like a month ago, in Frankfurt at the motor show. To conclude, you see here that we are trying to make the bridge between the concept cars and the production cars. Our lineup is just about to hit the street, so it's still very early for us to say whether it's going to be a success. The first signs are very promising, but now we have to pull through and give ourselves a couple of years to make sure that we make it happen. In the meantime, to come back to my first slide, we upgraded the corporate identity. We changed the promise into Passion for Life to show the place that life plays into our design strategy, and the life cycle is becoming the key for our products, and this has become the basis for Renault's new signature and promise, Renault Passion for Life. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lawrence. So next, 次は南。
Next, Minami-san, please. So my name is Minami from Honda. Firstly, Shiro Nakamura invited me. He actually emailed me, and I said, of course, right away, but I wasn't expecting such a splendid group of people at such a wonderful venue, so I'm getting more and more nervous. But with such a great group of members to be able to have this kind of discussion, I'm very much grateful for this opportunity, and I've been looking forward to this. Now, in this session 2, whereas panel session 1 talked about the mass, luxury for the mass, opposite to that, the mainstream brand, like Honda is one of the mainstream brand, is getting closer to the luxury, be it the quality and the equipment. Sometimes the higher quality cars compared to the luxury may be sold by the mainstream brands. Now within our Honda design, to have a lineup of the faces, to have the lined up design, is coming down from the premium to the mass level. Now, the brand and face design, Honda's face recently is being lined up, and including my intention of why did we come to where we are is what I'd like to explain. First of all, why that is happening. Technology, and I have this myself too, and I'm sure everyone else has it too, but just, is it a completely different design? No, actually it's almost the same. How about the functions and the contents? I have it, but I think my daughter is better at using this. But I choose it because of this. That's exactly what the brand is all about. So one brand. And of course, you can do more with this compared to other brands or lines, and manufacturing process is wonderful from the expert's point of view. But basically, it's all about the brand. But recently, these industrial products are, of course, expanding, but the cars is a bit different. And I think there's an important thing. The car has a face, this face, where there are lots of industrial products. When it comes to the car manufacturers, we call it a face. We may call it a front of the car, but to say the face doesn't look good, it has a funny face, we use the term face, which is quite unique among other industrial products to talk about the face. So the faces that leave an impression. On the left-hand side, of course, is a group of so-called unique faces, but it could be the actors, actresses. On the right-hand side is very well-balanced faces. And as Fukuichi-san made a similar comment earlier, but what is beautiful may not necessarily impress people. That may not leave an impression, but it's the uniqueness, it's the mindset, it's really the proof, evidence of how that person has left would leave an impression. That's what we can call that a unique face. Original face in a nutshell. Face expresses the person's way of life, his history, the way he has been living. So in creating a face, that's exactly what we want the Honda face to look like, reflecting a history and the mindset and the way of life. How about Honda's way of life? Well, face expresses a company, Honda's way of life. We have a founder, Mr. Honda, and his history, the challenges, people-focused, human-focused, and playful and out-of-the-box thinking that try to do something that nobody has done, but still respect people. Those have to be reflected into products. Now, this is an extreme case. This may cause some misunderstanding, but when I was assigned as a director, I explained it to the president, CEO. Face, in a nutshell, belongs to the company. It's not customers. Even if a CEO wants to change the face, well, you may be able to adjust some eyebrows, but you cannot change the face drastically. But when it comes to the body, it belongs to customers. There are trends, but the face of the car should not be kept on changing. It's not good as a brand to keep on changing the face. That's what I said. Now the solid wing face. This is Honda's design keyword: sporty, intelligent, and progressive. Now this progressive is to be half a step ahead. We want to make something progressive that is even half a step ahead of everyone. So around the global models, we've been lining up the face, especially in the middle. In the case of fit, it was just, well, my wife got upset that fit doesn't look cute anymore. Anyways, on a global basis, this face is well accepted. Now this solid wing fence. And this is the first time I talk about this. But originally the Honda motor mark, now this is still used as a wing mark for the motorcycles. So Mr. Soichiro Honda was inspired and wanted his company to really fly around the world, want to have wings within the mind. So that was originally the corporate mark brand. But to Honda's new face, with this intention of founder, we wanted to create a new face. But even with such face, there are customers' needs and trends. So mass brand, in our case, although the corporate size may not be that big, but because of we have compact trucks and sports. So we have to be able to accommodate different varieties. So not changing the face, but wear a hat or wear sunglasses, but you can still tell who the person is. The Honda's face or the mindset has to be made visible. And basics of sports are tough. The face can be expressed in those different types. So that's how we are building up the current lineup of the different types of products. It's not for the purpose of having the face lined up, but those three spirits of Honda should be reflected into our future design. Now this is the latest 10th generation Civic in US. This face is very much well perceived. We were able to do something very dynamic. So among different manufacturers, well, maybe I should have advertised about tomorrow, but this is hydrogen FCX mass production will debut. So with Mr. Soichiro's foundation spirit on the wing, being unique yet have a good face. If you can get that feeling, then our designer's mindset can be considered as a success. Thank you very much.
南さんありがとうございます。ですね、今
Thank you very much. I've been listening to the three presentations. And among the mainstream brands, it seems that there are varieties of ways of thinking about the mainstream brands. They are all thinking about who I am. I was very much impressed about it. And when you're designing a car, it's a very mature product, so people say that it's very mature. And when you need to design a new car, how much value can you create in a new car? That's the first question. How much value can be created by designing a car? The design itself may be the value that is added. That's what people have said for a long, long time. But I no longer believe that design itself brings value. The design itself is the brand value, or the brand is the design. It's almost equivalent. The brand and the design is almost equivalent. We have to have it that way. We have a lot of issues. It's very difficult to create a beautiful form. And if it's simply a value added, then we cannot work so hard. It's just a simple value that is added that will not motivate us so much. So the design itself has to be the brand itself. So you're saying that the design itself is the brand? Now, Lawrence, for a car, the design, how does it add value, the brand?
The important is that the design creates the first attraction. You know, it's when you meet a new person, when you meet a beautiful person, if you're not attracted to him or her, the chances are very small that you're going to talk. So in order to create a relationship, you need to have that first attraction. And I think for that, design is absolutely key, because it's a very visual thing, as I showed in my presentation. Now I think after that, there needs to be substance behind the attraction. There needs to be, it needs to be more than skin deep. There needs to be, it cannot be a one-night stand. It needs to, for it to become a marriage, there needs to be substance. And in this way, design needs to help both these stages, you know, first attraction first, and then make sure that, that it expresses substance. So design, I think, is key. I agree with Maeda-san that design is becoming the expression of the brand, the first expression of the brand.
But the first time your customer feels this is just a Renault design, but you have to keep that kind of the passion to do during the ownership long time. So how do you manage?
I think the beauty comes from the exterior. For me, like I said, the interior is where you need to, how can I say, create the long-term relationship. It's like you're attracted by the exterior, and then when you live with the car and you deal with the car, that's when you create the strongest relations. So I know we have a lot of work to do in the interiors, and I think if we can create an interior experience that is lasting, then I think we really create a strong relationship.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, I can understand that idea. So, ではHonda の前田さん、ごめん。
Now over to Mr. Minami from Honda, please. People tend to get this wrong. When we say design, it's architecture, architecting, designing. It's different from styling. Essentially, design is about assembling, putting things together. So, how the company can concretize its idea. It's like a clothes. How you want to be viewed. Do you want to be viewed as being a stylish person? Do you want to be viewed as a fashionable person? For that purpose, you would choose what you wear. Do you want to look very eccentric, like a rocker? Then you would wear a leather jacket. So what does the company want to do? And to achieve that, what kind of clothes would you wear? That's the total coordination. That's what is needed in the design today. A company with a bad design, I don't think does not exist anymore. It's how we cater to the different preferences, inclusive of the services that can be provided to those users. Recently, there is a friend of mine who is about 32 or 33 years old. He had gone to this party to meet a girlfriend. Some groups get together to meet a girlfriend. And there was a guy who was about 30 years old. And he said that the girls were lovely. They had nice manicures and they were wearing nice clothes. It's just like the cars. And they say that they were just simply cute. But they have to be impressive, I think. It's the same with the cars. If you want to buy that car, I think the impression has to be stronger. It should not be just a simple cute. That's what I thought, having listened to his remark. And today, when I was invited to this forum, I said, yes, without thinking seriously about it, but I found out that I was the only female moderator among all of the panel discussions. That's the reason why I chose this dress today. And today, looking at the drivers, half of them are females, women in the developed countries, and the Japanese license holders, half of them are female. But looking around at me, myself, there are a lot of men, it's men-oriented. However, how would you create a design that would be more women-oriented?
First of all, Mr. Lawrence.
Well, I just have to. I happen to have one good example. When we developed Capture, the orange crossover, half the team was female, and so this was quite unique in our history. And it's actually, I think, the reason why the car is very colorful, why the car is very stylish, why the car is also quite practical and pragmatic at the same time on the interior. There's a funny story. The car has seat covers that you can take off, so you can easily clean them, and you can wash them at 35 degrees, just so you know. And when they tested the cars, they had to make sure that the zippers wouldn't damage the clothing of the women when they get out of the car. So we put the zippers on the side and lower in order to protect the particular clothing of the car when people got in and out of the car. And I think this car has been extremely successful, among other things, with women, I think, because I think they sense that there is an intelligence into the interior, among other things.
Oh, wait. I didn't know it. I'm so sorry.
No, I forgive you.
では、横でうなずいてらした前田さん。
So Maeda-san, who has been nodding, for a long time, I haven't attended this party where young men and women meet. But so this is a male-oriented society, and I like a mannish car. But probably a target is more women than men. But I don't keep that in my mind when I design. But women nowadays are different from women in all the days. They are stronger. But they are still beautiful, and they pay much attention to materials, colors. They have much greater sensitivity to those things: beauty, color, material, so on and so forth. So I don't plan on driving the design towards the feminine direction, but I would like to create a sexy car. So women, in that sense, are quite important. Rather than directly targeting the women, but the sensitivity of women and women's perspectives, those things you keep in your mind. Am I right? Yes. So design that would appeal to women, that is the fundamental thing, I think. So women nowadays talk about sporty cars, looking at the Mazda commercial, and some female journalists do come to me and ask about the sporty cars. That was the purpose. That was the goal. Minami-san. So you've been talking about toughness, and I think women are looking for toughness in cars as well. So women. Well, I must be careful that I don't say anything that is politically incorrect or sexual harassment or type of things. But depending on the country, people think about women differently. For example, in Japan, sometimes pink cars is well received. But in the U.S., it's almost impossible. The women in the U.S., how a car looks. For example, some women in the U.S. would say that because there is no exhaust in the rear part, it's not sexy. So Japanese values and overseas values, particularly the values held by overseas women, is different. And in emerging nations like India and so forth, people have different values, and how we can capture their needs and taste in order to come up with a good mass brand that is a source of headache now. And today too, I hope that, for example, an event like this, half of the audience should become a female. So that is your personal wishes. Frankly, the women, men tend to think all women are the same. For example, male would have a job and work when they grow up. But the women have so many choices that they can be a wife, daughter, or mother. And there is very diversified values held by women. And that is one of the elements for design, required elements in design. So probably you should look at designing from many more perspectives. That is how I felt. Maybe we should open up the floor for questions from the audience if you have questions. I'm sure you have many questions because these brands are quite close to us. And please raise your hand if you have a question.
Is someone who raised the hand immediately? The man in the middle, please. On the left-hand side. Thank you for informative discussion. To create brand value with the design was discussed. So design, creating a brand value. What is the most difficult point in creating value with design in a nutshell, if you may tell us? This is Kimura from Kawasaki. To create a brand, what is the most difficult? What is the struggle? I'm sure you have different issues from different brands. So in order, how about you, Maeda-san? We only have struggles, that's all I can say. But to strengthen the expression and to put them all together and the product disseminating the brand values, if we as designers work hard, of course we can do a lot, but something other than that, for instance, the infrastructure, environment around cars or people, when it comes to brand, it is structured by different elements. So all the people related to Mazda should be looking towards the same direction to every single end. That would take time. That's the biggest challenge, the biggest struggle. So this is a struggle as you are still in the midst of the process, because I tend to rush. So I want to come up with a product as soon as possible, but it's not that easy. So we have to do one step at a time, step by step at a time. So it requires a lot of patience. I see. How about you, Lawrence-san? What is your view?
If you look at the words creating value, essentially what you want to do is that the customer pays more for the product than what it costs. That, in my view, is creating value. And so you need to find out what the customer is prepared to pay for something. And I think one of the biggest aces we have as designers is to create beauty, because there is no price on beauty. So I think this is a good start. If you're designing a car, but if you're designing any product, if it's beautiful, automatically you are willing to sacrifice to obtain this. But then I think there needs to also be substance. And unfortunately, in a car, there are many things that we put in there that people are not willing to pay for. For instance, if you put in a car 8 airbags instead of 6, or if you put into a car the new safety systems, which will give you the same 5 stars as you already have, if you put into cars more sophisticated suspensions that you can't see, those are things that need to go in the vehicles, but we cannot make our customers value this. So design has to make up for some of these investments, as well as create a surplus of value. And I think, like I said before, it starts, in my view, it starts with beauty and then followed by substance.
Oh, great. Yes. 南さんいかがですか?
I see. How about you, Minami-san? So I think Fukuichi-san mentioned about this in the first session, what the top management thinks. I think it's very close to what the senior top management thinks. So the top management of the European brands who are here with us love cars, have a good understanding about cars, but when it comes to Chinese cars, of course, we're Japanese makers. The top management, whether they see design as their management resources, how to leverage design as management resources. Maybe the Japanese manufacturers are a little bit behind in that. So in my company's case, the CEO changed, so to create it from scratch, and the company has to change at the company level. No matter how we scream about design is design, design cannot change everything else. So we have to have a good communication with the top management and work on how to, and as Maeda-san said, to the very single end of the cell, so that everyone in the company can look towards the same direction, so that we can have the blood of the brand into every single corner. But that's very difficult. Based on what I've been hearing, in fact, in designing a car inside the company and not just inside the car, including the supply and B2C customers, and being in the middle to every single corner, your brand and the promise of the product, the promise with the people who make, and promise of the company, design is sort of struggling, stuck in the middle. That's the impression I got. So the balance here is very difficult, I believe.
It's very interesting. Maybe we can take some more questions if you have any questions. There's somebody on the right-hand side, please. I'm sorry, I don't see your face. If you could tell me your affiliation and your name. Thank you very much for the interesting presentation. I came to meet the heroes from Kyoto. I do not work for a particular company. I have not had any formal education in design. On the other hand, I love cars. That's the common thread that runs through you and me. And we're now talking about the brand in this panel discussion. In the design industry and in the auto industry, and also this is applicable to other industries, not just design and automobiles. It's also applicable to the nation or to each individual. If I can cite one example, I used to go to a university, but the university had taken on this brand strategy. And it used to be a Buddhist-related university, but it has wanted to become more international. But to me, that looked very much in vain. I think there are a lot of industries that's searching for identity or that's trying to create a brand. And to be very honest, within the auto industry as well, the brand strategies taken by the auto industry also looks like a vanity. I'm sorry, I may sound very arrogant. And identity is something that everybody is searching for. But on what basis is it created? For example, there are different diverse value sets. And we need to cater and we need to accommodate different values. But the more you try to do it, the core of the brand or the integrity of the brand may be tarnished, may be disrupted. There is a contradiction. In my belief, Maeda-san had said that design to some extent has religious nature to that. Some people say Japan is a religious country. In the past, we used to believe in the air or the ambience When you see the eye of another person, you can communicate. That's in Japan. And if that does not exist, and if you cannot trust a company, then what should we believe in? What should we rely on in order to create a brand or to create the identity? I am sorry, we are running out of time. If I may just summarize your question. Sometimes when I am asked where I belong to, I am a freelance journalist, so it's difficult to respond to that question. So please don't worry. So the question was about brand and identity. There's identity and the diverse values. Maybe it's difficult to strike a balance between those two. If you try to accommodate different value sets, it's difficult to maintain your brand. I think that was the gist of the question. When you want to create a very strong brand, at the same time, you want to accommodate the variety and diversity, all of these different value sets. How can you balance those two contradicting elements? That's a very tough question. There is a diverse value set, values, and we need to accommodate that. It's something people say very often. In our case, from my point of view, it's not diverse. Whatever is good to everybody. I think there is one basic string. But if you look into the details, it may be diverse, but there's always one core value that is common. So as a professional, there should be something that we can never compromise, the core value. And we all have to believe in something, and we have to pursue that. I think that's the right way to go. That's the basis, that's the foundation of our business. Thank you very much for the very clear-cut answer.
Rooted in your history, you need to be authentic. I think you cannot push the company in a direction that is in conflict with what it stands for. At the same time, the values need to be flexible enough because the world changes. So I think you need to have one foot in the past, one foot in the future. You need to make sure that you keep sounding out where the world moves to, because if you hold all your traditional values and you don't change, you become obsolete. So I think it's that there's a natural tension between the past and the future, but I think your roots need to stay very authentic.
Yeah, authentic is very important to not only car design, so yeah.
No, I think this goes beyond car design, I would say.
Okay, thank you so much. Minami-san, なんかだいぶ考えちゃってる感じですけど、いかがでしょうか?
So, Minami-san, you've been thinking hard. That's a difficult question, and that is the question we oftentimes ask ourselves. But by the end of the day, as we discussed about brand, what is important is what you want to do with it. Looking at the customers and thinking about customers. You know, if you only do that, you may not be able to come up with a good product. So you yourself, what you yourself want, what kind of a car you yourself want. If you don't find it on street, you can create it. So a dream can drive upward, things like that, and it can create a new time. So diversity. But how you want to be would be the value at the core, and dream is the driving force. So each panelist sincerely answered this difficult question, and I think we have been able to very deeply dig into this difficult theme, which makes this session worthwhile conducting. So creating a mainstream brand is the theme for this, and please give them very nice rounds of applause.